want it.
Speaking of America, I'm going to be honest, it's not particularly newsworthy. I just want to discuss it. Today, guys, guess what today is the 44th anniversary of? Okay, I'm going to give you a hint. Well, let's do our math, okay? It's 2024. For those of you playing at home, 2024 minus 44. I need a calculator for this.
Oh, I know.
Now,
it.
what year does that bring us to? 1980.
Is it Lake Placid? Are we talking about
Of course, the Miracle
go.
on Ice. And lest you not have it at the ready, let's go back to the final minute of the U.S. versus Russia, the Soviets back then, hockey game where we were not expected to win by any measure. And yet Herb Brooks from the University of Minnesota put together this team of scrappy 19, 20, and 21-year-old boys from colleges, not our pros, up against the greatest hockey team in the world as of that point. And it was not the final round. It was the round right before that, but it was the biggest round. And we had every expectation of losing. Nobody expected us to win. Cold War, all of it happening. A bunch of boys from the United States go up to Lake Placid and create what has been known ever since as the Miracle on Ice. Here it is, last 60 seconds.
The U.S. team is depending a little bit too much now on Jim Craig. He's making too many good saves. Eruzione! Mike Eruzione! Lose 11 seconds. You've got 10 seconds. The countdown going on right now. Morrow up to Schultz. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
So
I love it.
great. Right, guys?
We used to be a country. Megyn. And how about Al Michaels on that call? I mean, it brings a tear to your eye every single time.
One of the
you hear
greatest
it.
calls in the history of sports. It really was.
Right? Do you believe in miracles?
Eruzione goes down in history as probably the second most important Italian next to Christopher Columbus.
He
Maybe
came on
Enrico
the show. He came on the show and we asked him about this. Yeah, he came on the show, episode 302. If you guys want to go back and look at it, anybody wants to take a listen to it, well worth your time. And we talked a little bit about the moment. Here it is. Watch.
To us, it was a hockey game, an opportunity to win a game and get to the medal game, get to the gold medal game. Clearly, we found out later that it was much more than a hockey game. They saw that, we love America type of a hockey team. And we did. We took great pride in putting that jersey on that says USA across the front. I can't tell you how many times people come up to me today and they'll say exactly this. I remember where I was when we won. And I go, I didn't know you were on the team. Mm-hmm. But that's what people felt like. They felt like they were a part of us. And people were proud to wave the flag after we won. And prior to that, people were wondering, where are we headed? Where is this country going? And I think Jimmy Carter even said it. He says we're a country that's, headed in the wrong direction, and we need something to feel good about. And it was us.
So great! It's so great.
Right?
I grew up in Minnesota, and there was an awful lot of Minnesotans on that team, Neil Broughton and others. And that Lake Placid event was like religion in all of the state of Minnesota. I mean, you could not grow up at any point in the 80s and not have your family talk all the time about what a great moment that was and how it was emblematic of a new rise within the country, a new sense of national pride. And Ronald Reagan obviously took that to another level during the course of his 2 terms. But that really was a demarcation line of Americans getting back together again.
I had the opposite experience, Holmes, because I grew up in upstate New York, Syracuse and Albany. So we were closer to Lake Placid and had a similar connection to it just for that reason, because not a lot happens in upstate New York. So this was the most exciting thing in decades, and really one of the most exciting for America still. I mean, we just happened to be watching Miracle with the kids like 10 days ago. My 4th grader's teacher said in class it was her very favorite movie. And we were like, you know what? That's a great one. Let's put that one back on. And, Kurt Russell was so amazing as Herb Brooks in that movie.
Yes.
And you forget that Herb Brooks had that team play the Russians. It was 10 days before, or 13 days before the Olympics began, he had our guys play the Russians at an exhibition match, I think at Madison Square Garden, something like that. And we got crushed 10-3. 10-3, even after all that training. But he knew what he was doing. And they got to Lake Placid, and they had Jim Craig in goal, who was, that tape, if you watch that tape play out, there you can see the goalie, Jim Craig, skating around going, "Where's my father?" with his Boston accent. "Where's my father?" You can see, right? His mom had died. And anyway, so these guys, these young kids, and they talked about in both in Miracle and in the actual ESPN documentary, which is awesome about it, about how the Russians were so dominant, they didn't know what to do. When they were down and there were only a few minutes left, they didn't know to pull their goalie so they can get another offensive guy out on the ice. Because they never
had to do it.
lost. Right. They never had to do it. They were completely baffled. But the reason I bring it up is just, A, it's a feel great moment, right? And it's one of the greatest moments in sports. My husband said it's literally got to be one of, if not the top moment in sport, never mind American sport. And here's Eruzione, the guy who scored what would ultimately be the game-winning goal, the team captain, getting all of our guys at the Olympic ceremony up on that tiny little podium, all of our guys with American flags, and the feelings they had when the American flag was raised above that of the Soviets, all of that. Somehow we got to find a way back to that, guys, because what we're doing now, like right now, is we're celebrating Russians and Russia and comparing the U.S. unfavorably to Russia. And I understand, like, sure, there's some points. I've been to St. Petersburg. It's wonderful. It's not better than America. It's not bad. No. Moscow's not better than America. Go to Santa Barbara if you want to see the most beautiful city on earth, if you ask me. And not on top of that, we're at a time when patriotism is at an all-time low, especially among young people, and where our athletes, instead of going on top of the podium and inviting all the guys out there wearing their USA, waving their American flags, cheering for the United States, are crapping all over America, right? Megan Rapinoe, U.S. women's soccer team, not long before that, all the kneelers at the NFL, thankfully they've been told to get up off their knees and they're listening, and now the NFL's ratings are back. But look where we are 44 years later. I don't think those guys, I don't think Herb Brooks, God rest him, would believe what we've done to sport. And it's been really detrimental. Anyway, your thoughts on all of it?
No, it's no question. I couldn't identify more with what you've just laid out. I mean, look, I think one of the things that bothers me the most is that it's all self-inflicted, right? I mean, the pride in our country should be there because our country still is the greatest country in the world, undoubtedly. If you have any question about that, like head to South Florida for the first generation Americans down there who fled communist Cuba and see what that's like. Those are the most patriotic set of Americans that we have in this country. And it seems to me like we've just sort of lost the thread along the way, that it became unfashionable to talk about how great this country actually is and how much we do positive for not only the people in our country, but the world. And we do have to get back to that, don't we, fellas?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think the real problem is in our education system, Megan. I mean, I think kids are taught today to see people as oppressed or oppressors. And so, there is no national unity. It's all, us versus them sort of rhetoric. It's cultural Marxism is what it is.
It's people like this Jack Kesmard, whatever, Praswick, whatever, however you say it. It's people like him who just want to remind you at every turn America's racist. It's racist. And there are white privileges everywhere, as opposed to celebrating the greatness of this country of ours and our history, what we've done to liberate the world. They want to focus on one chapter and only one chapter, to the point where we literally now need to recast the founding fathers in a skin color other than their own.
Right. Well said.
Yeah, we used to care about the Olympics. Now we care about the oppression Olympics and where you fit on that podium of oppression. That's the most important thing.
I don't know how we pull out of it. I mean, the Summer Olympics are coming up this summer in Paris, and I just shudder to think about what some of these athletes are going to do when they get on the podium. How are they going to display either their patriotism or the opposite of their patriotism? And the entire world will watch it, and they will be picking up followers on social media as a result. And I'm not optimistic about what they're going to do when they're there.
I just think, like I'm not even a sports person, but I recognize the importance of sports in our culture, as a sort of a touchstone. And I think it's important.
It's like one of the last unifying pieces of our culture, right? I mean, it just even NFL games, there are people who wouldn't talk to each other at all. They'd all sit in 60,000 seat stadiums and high five one another during the course of an NFL game. Like, it's that kind of thing that is the beauty and the magic of sports.
Yeah, I think that's what makes the NFL so special. It's what makes Major League Baseball so special, college basketball special. Duncan is a really big soccer fan. I'm not sure whether it extends to that sport.
It's the most popular sport in the world.
Yeah,
I just want to point that out.
It's great for children. It's great for children.
Yeah, no, it is.
I was just saying, you all watch the World Cup too, And I think back to like Holmes's point on that is like, sports provides these moments of national unity where we're all doing the same thing. Everybody watches the Super Bowl, even if they aren't a big football fan. Mm-hmm. And in our like fractured media, tribalistic world that we live in now, like nobody has shared experiences like that anymore.
That's right.
Well, that's why I'm so glad to see those players back on their feet. I don't really give a damn what their private beliefs are. They can hate America on their time, behind the scenes, not when we're trying to have a shared experience about sports and competition and greatness on the field, right? And if you're going to say anything about America, make it be positive or say nothing at all. Keep your mouth shut. And to those people like Megan Rapinoe, you can't represent the United States with pride. Get the F off the team. We don't need you. There are a million girls who would kill to be on that team. Even today in 2024, where patriotism among young people in particular is at its lowest point. With cyber attacks on the rise, protecting your data security is more important than ever. So why is Congress considering a bill that could put your credit card data at greater risk of being hacked and exposed to foreign networks? Our advertiser, the Electronic Payments Coalition, says the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill shifts billions in consumer spending to less secure payment networks, all so that corporate megastores can make bigger profits. Find out more about the issue at electronicpaymentscoalition.org and decide for yourself if you would like to tell your senators to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.